Hello, welcome to 10 Minute Takes. This is the show where we give you our recommendation first, and then we ask each other a series of questions about things that we did and did not like about the film. And as always, you're more than welcome to join in on the discussion, answering your own side of the questions that we're asking each other. So just jump in the comments and do that. If you'd like to, you're more than welcome to do that. So Sam, with that said, you ready to give our recommendation?
Yes.
Okay, so Boy Erased. 3, 2, 1, see it. Not only is this a see it, this is a must see. This is one of the must see films of the year. It's incredibly important that people see this. It's one of those eye-opening films. I've never seen anything like this, and I'm glad I watched it. And I just can't imagine anyone that goes in and sees this is not happy that they saw it. This is, go see it. You just have to go see it. Now, with that said, we need to get into the discussion. So, Sam, if I am someone that's never seen this movie before, describe this film to me.
I would describe it as a young man who is finally realizing that he's gay, and he comes out to his family unwillingly, and he's also a pastor's son who is very driven by the Bible, and he's a pastor, so he doesn't believe in homosexuality, and he thinks that it is a choice, and so they send him to a conversion therapy where he wants to do well, but he then starts to realize that it's something that he can't change.
Yep. That's actually a great description of what this film is. It means exactly what it is. And what this film does was that it cuts between two timelines throughout, I want to say 75% of this film.
Yeah.
So we cut between him at the conversion therapy center, I'm not sure what you would exactly call it. I know it's conversion therapy, but it's like a place he goes to. Maybe it's a church of some kind. It wasn't clear to me exactly where it was. It almost seemed like it was a rec center. But
it was a church.
It was a church?
Yeah, there was a church.
So it cuts between the conversion therapy center, church, and him leading up to his realization that he is gay. It's not just his realization, but his acceptance of who he is. Mm-hmm. And the film cuts between those two timelines for about 75% of it, to when finally the film catches up with itself to where the two timelines meet. Mm-hmm. And then the film then goes along from there.
Yeah.
And that's essentially the story of this film. And if you know anything about conversion therapy, or if you heard anything about it, this film it's unflinching. It's the full experience. They do not shy away from anything. And that's one of the reasons why I actually really liked this film. Not liked it because it was enjoyable, but because it was an unflinching view at what this is. And I feel like a film that's tackling an aspect like this needs to be unflinching. It needed to be somewhat brutal and real to really convey, like, not shy away from the things that these kids go through when they go here. Mm-hmm. Now, this is from Joel Edgerton. I'm a fan of Joel Edgerton. He's a great actor, but his last film that he directed was The Gift. We recently watched The Gift. Do you remember that? It was
Oh, yeah.
He was also in it.
Yeah, he was weird.
He was weird. He played Simon in that.
He was weird in that.
And he goes after Jason Bateman's character because he was bullied by him when he was a kid. But it's another fantastic film. If you haven't seen The Gift, I highly recommend it. I believe it's on most streaming services.
It was, at least.
It was absolutely fantastic. We highly recommend that. This has a similar tone. It's certain seriousness and aesthetic that Boy Erased shares with The Gift. And I feel like
it's a much tougher topic.
Oh yeah, it's a much tougher topic.
And it's definitely a topic that needed to be heard and shared and needed to be watched.
Because there's a lot of dark things that happen in this film. Some of it will be pretty uneasy for some people to handle because it does go to some pretty dark places. But what I liked that this film did, that I feel some films have a hard time doing, was that the film has a point. So at the end of the film is trying to make a statement, and I feel like the story of this film coincided with the statement, and it was expertly done. And sort of the statement is sort of the hypocrisy of these conversion therapy places that these kids get sent to. And
it wasn't even just kids; it was people.
The adults, a lot of people
everybody.
go.
It was just people.
the point of the film coincided with the story of the film. Whereas we saw a film earlier in the year, which was White Boy Rick, which I felt like there was a certain point to the film, but the story wasn't exactly the point that the film was trying to make, which left me cold. But with Boy Erased, it left me feeling incredibly satisfied with the film that I saw. Well, the way the story unfolds, that the cutting back and forth between the timelines I felt was interesting.
Yeah, the timeline was a little bit off sometimes. I got a little bit lost, but then I was able to quickly follow. It was just there to share his story. And one thing that I thought was really amazing was the relationship between the mom and Jared.
Yeah.
There was a growth from the beginning and a realization to her that she was able to see that I think was really important to watch and go through. And that's where I got a lot of emotion. I got a lot of emotion from her character and her alone and having to go through this, being stuck between her husband and her son and not really knowing which way to go.
Yeah.
Like, she wanted to be with her husband, but she wanted to be with her son. So in the end, it ultimately had a rift between her and her husband for a while before everything seemed to smooth over eventually. And there was acceptance.
Nicole Kidman was fantastic.
Was phenomenal, and I got a lot of emotions from her.
She's great as his mom character. She played a similar, well, not a similar story, but a similar mom character in last year's in Lion, which she was also amazing in.
Yeah. She's just phenomenal. I don't think I've ever had a film where I've just been like, oh, she was all right. I think every film
No, she brings her A game every time.
And I think that a lot of this, it felt like the core of the story was even mainly about the growth of the relationship between the mom and Jared, because I felt that they had the most growth. And I think the pastor was very interesting to watch the pastor, because he was battling with the Bible and God and all of those things that he had to battle through, and it was always heartbreaking to see him, because you wanted him to see that it was going to be okay, but he just couldn't really get there in the film. Like,
when you say the pastor, it's the father, right?
Pastor, yeah, he's a pastor.
Now, this film is filled with amazing performances. Everyone brings their A game for this. Joel Egerton brings the best out of his actors. I feel like he's just going to be a really good director if he keeps on going. Who do you feel like was the best actor in this film?
It's hard because they were all really good.
They are really, really good.
What's the boy's name?
Jared? Or are you talking about Lucas Hedges?
Lucas Hedges. Lucas Hedges has made amazing films in the last couple years.
He's carving off a nice little path for himself.
Yeah, and I think I already fangirled over Nicole Kidman enough, so I think we know that I like her.
I would choose Lucas Hedges. He is the best actor in this film for me. But I'm going to give a lot of credit to Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
Russell Crowe as the dad in this movie was fantastic. It's been a while since I've seen Russell Crowe in a performance that was just like, wow. But Russell Crowe and Nicole Kidman really bring their A games in this film in their sort of end scenes with the son.
I bet Nicole Kidman is the one who brings that out of everybody. I just feel like even in her films, just the people around her bring their A game. I'm sure
better.
She just has that demeanor and that presence for people to really bring it.
Yeah. So and when they're showing the photos at the end of the film of like the family,
did he not look exactly
like him? He looked
like
exactly like the dad. I feel like he gained weight to look like the dad.
I thought the same thing. There's a scene where he's just standing there, and I was like, wow, he looks
I actually thought it was a photo of Russell Crowe. I was like, oh, that's weird. They've worked in a photo of Russell Crowe in this. But it's not. Was there one particular scene in that you saw that sort of triggered a hard emotion in you when you saw it?
Oh, yeah. I got so mad when he was in the bathroom and one of the counselors called him a name. I was so mad. And then that's not even what made me the most pissed about it. What I was so mad about was the fact that later in the movie, he's trying to quote unquote help him, and he had his hand on him, and I almost wanted to shout out, get your hand off him. It was anger. It was a lot of anger in that scene.
The scene that led into that was where they brought like the coffin into the conversion therapy thing, and they had that scene where they're trying to...
I was so confused at first. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, I thought someone died, but they were trying to like beat the devil out of the kid there.
They were trying to do something weird
Bible.
And religious. But...
And it made me... That triggered me because it's like, what are you people doing?
And I think with the whole conversion therapy, it was really shown. This really shows a light on what it is, and the fact that they're still going on. And
Disgusting.
I think it needed to be said.
This is actually the second conversion therapy film that's come out this year. If you're not familiar with the other one, there's one that came out in August. It's called The Miseducation of Cameron Post. I'll put the link to the trailer in the description if you want to check that out if you haven't heard of this film and you're interested in this kind of material. But that takes more of a comedic approach to this, the conversion therapy discussion. And I'm glad that someone like Joel Egerton, who's as talented of a writer-director as he is, was able to tackle this material in the way that I felt like he wanted to. I feel like if this was like a major Hollywood studio, there's a lot of stuff that probably would have been cut back on that. And like, oh no, you can't show that. But they went pretty hard with this film, with its unflinching view of what this stuff is.
Right.
So I just have one dislike that I want to mention, and it's just when they're cutting back and forth between the timelines, there was one point where I think it was like one of the first times that it happened, I got completely lost. Mm-hmm. Where I actually thought we were still in his conversion therapy.
It was a little sloppy. I mean, maybe not sloppy, but it was
They could have used
choppy.
I could have used like a lower third or like something that dated it. That said, all right, now it's like, say the conversion therapy takes place in 2008. I'm not sure on the timeline, but say before the timeline that's taking place before it is in 2006. It just would have been nice maybe if we had like just a little thing that said like what year we were in.
It took some place in the 90s, I think, but that's not really the point. I think I feel like the reason I got lost is because visually it looked the same.
Yeah, there was no difference.
And I think with movies where you do flashbacks, they visually look different. Mm-hmm. So the fact that they were the same, it took me a second to realize, oh, this is a flashback. This isn't something that's happening now. And then there was actually one that I thought was actually during the time. And I'm still not sure if it was.
Which one?
The one where he meets the boy in the art show?
I believe that was before.
Yeah, but I don't know if it was.
Because that's the kid that he's writing about when he gives up to the podium.
Oh.
That's
where I mean by
like, it does get a little confusing. It's a little
like, that one visually looked different. But the reason when it visually looked different, I actually thought it was part of that day and he was just gonna, because it was one of the days where it was after the therapy sessions and he was super upset and I thought maybe he had gone out.
That's kind of what I thought at first, but what they do is that to signify that we're going into a flashback, they use cross dissolves. It's the only time in the film where cross dissolve is used. Mm-hmm. So it cross dissolves from him at therapy, and then it cross dissolves to the past, leading up to his journey to going to like coming out and going to therapy.
Okay, that makes sense. So yeah.
So if you're not privy to that kind of stuff in films, I feel like it would get confusing for people. I was able to catch on to it after, like, I think the second time it did it, which I think the second time it did it is where it confused me. Yeah. And then we cut back to conversion therapy, and then it crosses off again. I'm like, oh, this is how they're going to signify to me that we're going into the past.
Yeah, it was definitely something you needed to pay attention to.
Yeah.
For sure.
So did you have anything else that you wanted to ask me?
No, I think we kind of covered it in our conversation.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that I really wanted to point out. Everything that I wanted to talk about, I kind of just drove into the conversation.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, is that it for you?
Yeah.
That's it for me. So that was our discussion on Boy Erased. This film was absolutely fantastic. It's a hard watch, but we highly recommend it. If you're someone that was curious about seeing this, go see it. Don't wait. It's in theaters now. I believe it's expanding. I think it's been out in limited release for the last week or so, but it's expanding wide. So if you're at all curious about this film, check it out. Highly recommend it. It's not the easiest watch, but it's a watch that I feel like people need to see. So
it's a good one.
So also, it doesn't end depressingly. It doesn't have a depressing ending. It's kind of a hopeful ending, which kind of made it more enjoyable for me. Because sometimes these films can end in like a depressing manner.
Yeah, I don't mind that all the time. I think it just kind of sends you off in this If it doesn't make you feel empty, if you feel empty at the end, then I think that's not good. But if you feel depressed and like you're just not even depressed, just sad, I think that's okay to leave a theater sad. I don't think that movies need to always end on a hopeful note.
This left me kind of hopeful. That's it. So thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you liked this video. We have more coming. We're seeing Fantastic Beasts. It's Friday night right now. We'll be seeing it Saturday, so we'll probably be seeing it today if you're watching this. And that's it. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time.